What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 33rd episode of the Balanced Business Podcast. If you guys are looking at us on YouTube, you might be wondering, why are they dressed the same? Well, we're recording in one day, so it's a new experience for us because someone, aka Larissa, is taking next week off. So that'll be super fun. She will be missed. But Justine, what's going on? What's today's topic?
Okay, so today I wanted to do something fun. I keep seeing this trend on TikTok where business owners talk about things they would never do again. So I thought it'd be fun to talk about things that each of us would never do again in our respective areas. So that is what we're going to start with. I can start with my content, things I would never do. Um,
So
so
for reference, for everybody listening, Justine is our director
N-
of
Nope,
digital
VP. We,
content.
we we just changed the title. She's our
Oh,
VP
what's your
of
current title,
content.
Justine? VP
I'm
of
the
digital
VP of
media.
digital marketing.
VP of being
Okay.
awesome. So yeah.
So that gives you some idea of a lot of the things Justine oversees and manages on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, I definitely do all things content in my role. So I've seen a lot, definitely made some mistakes here and there. So thought I'd talk about those today. My first one is I would never follow a trend I don't like just for the sake of following a trend. I think it's super important to like stay true to who you are. And if you think a trend is super cringy, you don't have to do it just because like everyone else is doing it. Um, the second one is caring too much about vanity metrics and not caring enough about the actual relationships that you're building with your followers. It can be really easy to like get lost in how many followers you have and how many likes you're getting, but not actually taking the time to engage with the people who want to interact with your content and who could benefit from talking to you. Um, the third one is trying to be social on every platform. So taking the time to research what platform you're going to perform best on is super important. And so it doesn't, you're not spreading yourself too thin by trying to market yourself on platforms that you won't perform well on at all. The fourth one is creating content with the sole goal of going viral. So going viral is great, but not if you're not helping your target audience. So I think like for Boundless, our main goal is always sharing value with the people who need it most. And sometimes that doesn't mean going viral because not everyone can benefit from what we have to offer. So yeah. Fifth one is spending hours creating a single social media post. Creating one Instagram post should not take you hours. If you batch create your content, if you use our content machine method, you will not have to spend hours creating one single piece of content. So that's definitely something I've had to learn is to, lessen the time that I'm spending creating a single piece of content. So those are the things I would never do again. Larissa, do you want to go next?
Oh my God, I have so many things so that I can limit it, right? So definitely the first thing, and this comes more from my role on the operation side. So I'm our COO. I help, basically make sure all the things that need to get done when they're supposed to. That's high level my job, and that involves managing all the aspects of our team. I manage a lot of the things on our finance side. I manage a lot of our automation. So I kind of see every side of things a lot. And the first thing really has to do with, yes, on the finance side, but mostly on the operations side. I would never again build and sell and like currently service product offerings that are heavily based on day-to-day labor. Like realistically, it is so easy to get behind on those things because let's say somebody gets sick or just something happens that like throws everything off track. And so if you have a 3-month project that 90 days and every single day has like individual things that have to be done by a specific person, one thing goes wrong and the rest of your 90 days are wrong. So a lot of that has to do with, instead of doing like day to day projects, do more week to week projects to just have a little bit more wiggle room and scheduling and things. But also day to day labor projects that just require like basically a full time person assigned to a single client or maybe 2 clients is just financially not worth it. First big thing, I would say biggest lesson to any agency owners out there, don't do that. definitely, give yourself the wiggle room, build products that actually are scalable. That's another problem with building like labor heavy products. um, the next thing would definitely be like not actually utilizing automation. So that's something that I feel we learned a lot at first, where we had a lot of like labor involved in just little kind of more like administrative tasks, right? Like updating this spreadsheet when this thing happens or whatever. And I mean, sure, there's always going to be an element of that, but not just automating as much of that as possible to make it easy to understand everything. And I would say kind of the final thing was relying a lot more on emotions as opposed to data. So there were some times you'd be like, oh, we really like this campaign. Like, we like this copy. We like how this is. But in reality, that doesn't matter what we like. What matters is what works. So those would probably be the three big things that, as agency owner on the ops side, those are the three things that if we had done differently sooner, it would have made a much bigger difference and we could have gotten, further quicker had we not done those things. Although they're all lessons you kind of have to learn. Before you know how to automate, you have to be able to do it based on labor and all of those things. So now I can kind of hand it over to Nico, but those are my big things. And I have a lot of regrets that I would for sure change. So I could go on.
Yeah, it is very interesting to have this reflection. And when Justine told me this topic, it really got me thinking about, man, there's things every day, every week, every month, every year that I'm like, man, we should not have done that. Or like the opposite side, we should have done more of that. Right. That's the other part. And that's the angle I'm going to take care. Is like, instead of saying what we shouldn't have done, what should we have done more of? Because that honestly sometimes is the biggest regrets I have, which is, when we first started Boundless, Larissa and I had a very strong background in what we wanted to do, and a lot of hopes and desires. But the thing is, when we saw an opportunity and we scaled really quickly the first time, we kind of took I'll take a lot of responsibility for this. We took our foot off the gas a little bit. We scaled up, from 1K a month to like 30, 40, 50. And then we kind of eased back when we saw things working, because we're like, okay, we're there. We should maybe niche down. And in reality, at that point, we shouldn't have niched. We had a very high level product offering. We should have kept going high level before niching down and gotten a lot more data on like who that product was specifically for. The second one is not, and again, this is like not hiring fast enough for us. There were weekends and evenings and holidays when I would be sitting there mining data. And part of this is Larissa and I didn't really know how to accurately always like judge our time. And Larissa's done a really good job at making me do this, because I am very easy to default back into work. But I should have deconstructed my day a lot quicker and seen like, is this task actually moving the needle? Yes or no, right? Should I spend the whole Saturday mining data, or do something more productive that the team could have handled and they can do faster and better than me? So leaning into taking things off my plate that I'm not the best at, and I'm still working on that, but leaning into that a little bit more. And the last part is not investing in content enough, right? So we should have done more content. And because again, we at one point we were posting a lot, like 3, 4, 5 times a day on every one. Part of the reason is like you get stuck in the minutia and you do things that you shouldn't necessarily always be doing, like AKA mining data, where I could have spent more time like leaning into content, building partnerships, jumping on more podcasts, investing in SEO. I should have leaned into that a little bit more. So that's a huge mistake that we did as an agency. Well, now we have a podcast, but this is episode 33. We've been around for 2 years, technically a little longer. Like, we should have had a podcast earlier and leaned into that, because it's not just forced us as content creators and agency owners and VPs in this conversation to have a place to like word dump all our ideas, and but it's also forced us to get very organized with our content rather than randomly posting things, getting very strategic. What are we talking about this week? Who is it going to benefit? What are we going to turn this content into? Like Justine mentioned, we have a content machine now. So this podcast gets turned into audio clips, blogs. It does that, but we've had that since 2020. That was one of our very first products, but we ended up leaning out of content and leaning more into lead gen when we should have done both equally hard. So yeah, those are the three things, and I gotta be a little different. So gotta lean anything. So Justine, Larissa, based on what you guys have heard from each other, from me, any other regrets that you guys are thinking about?
I think one thing that can be really hard, especially as like a founder, to kind of wrap your head around is there are some things that like we probably should have done and leaned into sooner or done more of. One of those, I mean, I can name specifically would be Upwork. I mean, we should have done a lot more Upwork like work and proposals, sending things out on that platform than we did. I mean, we did a lot of it and then we kind of held off and we decided to pursue it less. We shouldn't have done that. We should have continued. We had seen some success on it, but as soon as we kind of started to see a lull, we were like, okay, Upwork's dead. We'll focus on these other things. I think that was a mistake. Like there are certain things that us as agency owners, we can reflect back on and we can see like, oh, we could have gotten, different clients or different projects, or we could have, had a little bit more control maybe on the kinds of projects that came to us, or there's a lot of different things we could have done. I would say like Upwork, and then there's a couple other like platforms and things I think we should have invested more into sooner. And these are all things we're doing now, and I'm happy we're doing them now. But I think if we had the foresight, we would have leaned into that a lot more sooner.
One thing I'll add too is like everyone's gonna make mistakes, and I think it's good to just remind yourself not to beat yourself up too much about it. Like you can learn. We've definitely learned from all of our mistakes, and I think there's a lot of value in making mistakes. So
yeah. I was about to say like let's end this on a positive note. Like, what's one thing that we've done successfully?
I think this podcast has been great. Like I'm happy we finally took that jump because we were talking about it for a while. And then just finally actually doing it, I think has been really valuable for us. So I think everyone should have a podcast. I think it's great.
It certainly helps like structure your content and everything. And like Nico mentioned, we should have been creating more content sooner. So this allows us to have that structure while also being able to like have an idea of like the volume of content we're creating, and make it actually repeatable. So one thing I think we have actually done really well, I would argue, and maybe Justine or Nico, you could say not, but I think we've done a really good job like training our team to learn how like technical tools and things work. So that's a big focus. I mean, for me personally, is actually training our team to build, like if I always say, to a lot of our team members, I'm like, if you don't like doing it, figure out a way to automate it. Take it off your plate. Like, I don't want you doing things you don't want to do anyway. Like your brain power should be used towards things that are creative and like worth your time, not something a robot can do. So have the robot do the things you don't want to do, and you focus on the stuff that's actually important.
Yeah, and the thing, one aspect that I will lean into is education, not just for our own selves. Like Larissa and I, for this year, really made it one of our KPIs to keep learning. So Larissa's been like leaning into automations. Like she has this like YouTube channel. Well, let's plug that guy because you love him, the Airtable guy.
Oh, Gareth Pronovost, Gap Consulting. I am obsessed with him. You should go watch all his YouTube videos. You'll learn so much.
Yeah, it's one of those things for like continued education. I at least once a week will go down a rabbit hole where I just have to scratch it, right? And I'll learn something. Like right now, I'm binging Go High Level podcasts, and that's inspired a couple of things that we're doing now in the initiatives for like lead magnets instead of like lead gen for a call, but lead magnets for lead gen for lead magnets. Other one is like buying books, right? So like Alex Berman, he's very big guy on Twitter. I actually DM'd him yesterday to see if we can partner up with something. But like reading his book, understanding like what his little tweak was with cold emails, like, oh, that's awesome, didn't know this aspect of it. So that's been super helpful to not just us but success in campaigns, and the rest of the team does it too, right? I know Justine's looking at trends. She's reading things. She's a lot of the times when we bring a topic for this conversation, she's doing background research and learning like what's at like this video is a great example of it. Like it's trending on TikTok, and it's something that we as agency owners can speak and bring a different level to it. So continued education, I think, has been amazing for us, the team. Larissa hosts weekly automation trainings. We have a lot of STR support. We're educating on what we're doing, and we shoot a lot of videos, a lot of Loom videos at this company. So, Loom, if you want to sponsor this podcast, just let us know. Happy to
Yeah,
do
our
so.
Loom libraries have thousands of videos in them.
Yeah. I don't want to say we're the number one agency using Loom, but we are the number one agency using Loom right now.
We're
So,
probably in the top 1%, I would argue.
Yeah, 100%. We are number one. That's amazing. So that's awesome. Well, we'll wrap this pod up, guys. Thank you guys so much for the 33rd episode. It's amazing. We're gonna keep grinding. Maybe we'll wear the same shirts next time. I don't know yet. We'll see. But if you have any questions, nico@balancemedia.com. And we'll unveil this here. We have a 7-day revenue challenge. We'll be posting it all around. But if you have any desire to add at least $1,000 to your agency in the next 7 days, that's what we can help with at getbalancemedia.com. Email me at nico@getbalancemedia.com. Let me put some money in your pocket and we'll go from there. Have a great day. Talk soon. Peace.